One stormy morning in October of 1980, Ronnie was sitting at home in his upstairs room up in the attic. 2 years before this, him and his father had built this room together. His father passed away a year ago. So Ronnie always took the privilege on weekends to sit there in his room, gazing out the window into the woods that him and his father frequently walked through on weekends after Ronnie came home from elementary school. Now, Ronnie and his father typically heard strange noises from the woods throughout the years of them living in the house. But things got really strange one year after Ronnie's father passed away. On that gloomy morning, Ronnie was sitting in his room staring out that same window that years earlier him and his father used to stare out into those woods and wonder what was beyond the trees and mountains. As Ronnie settled into the rocking chair in front of his window, gazing out at the gloom light outside that window, his mother called to him downstairs, "Ronnie, come and eat." Ronnie just loved his mom's cooking, especially the way she made her bacon, nice and crispy, just the way he liked it. After eating breakfast, Ronnie's mom looked at him and said, "Ronnie, did you hear that noise last night up on the roof of our house?" Ronnie said, "No, I didn't hear anything." His mom said, "Well, it's suspicious that something is up on our roof. Would you please go up there and look and make sure those raccoons aren't up there again with their nests?" Ronnie agreed and said, "Okay, I'll go up there." As Ronnie climbed the ladder and made it onto the roof, he noticed that the raccoons were indeed back. They had built a nest next to the fireplace chimney. He destroyed the nest while the raccoons were out, so they were not there. He came back down the ladder, told his mom what he had found, and he got rid of the problem. That night, as Ronnie laid in his room reading a Stephen King novel, he heard some real strange noises outside of his window. Curiosity took the comfort of him away. He got up and looked out that window. He seen a large black shadow running away from the downstairs below him, right where his bathroom window sits underneath his room. He was curious on what the heck he just saw. Running downstairs, he grabbed his dad's shotgun, went outside with his flashlight, armed with his shotgun. He aimed it furiously at where he saw the dark shadow darting across the field out into the tree line. Ronnie decided he was going to follow the same path that he saw the shadow. So, as he was following the path, he heard rumbling in the trees, but it wasn't any kind of rumble that he had ever heard. He said it sounded like a rumble, like a jet that was on the ground, just throttling boot into it with the jets just roaring, and it was shaking the ground and shaking the trees. He thought it was so weird how the sound made his body feel as the trembles went right up through his feet, right into the barrel of the gun, and even the gun started shaking. But curiosity had the best of Ronnie. So he adventured into the woods. Deeper and deeper as he went, he didn't see a trace of anything. He still couldn't find out what the problem was or what that noise was coming from. Nonetheless, the black shadow he seen running across the yard. But wondering for another 10-15 minutes, Ronnie didn't see a thing. So he turned around, headed back into his house, and the next morning told his mom what he had seen. Now, Ronnie was about 30 years old, and Ronnie always told his mom and dad strange stories growing up throughout his life, even weird stories like talking to himself, hearing voices in the night, and in the room downstairs where he used to sleep, He always thought that something lived in the walls, but they never found anything, and they just chalked it up to Ronnie's imagination. Now, Ronnie did work. He worked for a meat company as a butcher, and that was his job on weekends, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. He got Thursdays and Fridays off, but had to work on the weekends. Although Ronnie liked his job, he always complained to his mom and his dad before his dad's passing how he wanted to switch jobs, how he was getting bored of cutting meat, and that he wanted to become a welder or someone useful like that, maybe building homes or sheds or just using his hands to create. But one thing Ronnie had was a problem with hearing things, seeing things, talking to things that aren't there. And later, like 3 years into, or 3 years before his father's passing, he got diagnosed as a schizophrenic. But it was controlled through medications. But 6 months after his father's passing, he quit taking his medications. And he started seeing weird things, telling his mom that he heard his dad talking to him at night, seeing his dad outside, uh, hearing his dad flush the toilet in the restroom when there was nobody there. Just strange things just started happening to him since he quit taking his schizophrenic medications. Although his mom wasn't too concerned because she had already lived with him all of his life, and once she found out that he was a schizophrenic, everything made sense to her. So she just politely told him, "You need to start taking your medication. I know you haven't been checking it. I checked your bottles." And he promised his mom that he would get back on his medications. But Ronnie didn't do that. He did not get back on his medications, and his I can't say that, schizophrenic, got worse and worse over time. His mom noticed that Ronnie was falling into a deeper and deeper depression, and his schizophrenic was getting worse and worse. Now he had a pretend girlfriend, and he had a son that didn't exist. But 6 months after he saw the shadow walking across his yard, the same shadow that he chased that night but never found anything, the shadow was back. And this time, Ronnie woke up his mom and had her come to the window to make sure that the shadows that he was seeing wasn't just in his head, but they were actually outside. His mom indeed did see the same shadows, and she even got concerned enough to call the police. The police came out, they searched the area, nothing was found. 6 weeks later, the shadows came back. Ronnie, instead of going to get his mother, decided that he would sneak out the side door of the house and walk through the side back of his house, and come around the house and see if he can, like, corner them, sneak up on them. So he did this. And what he got into when he chased them out of the yard was something just really bizarre. At this point that Ronnie snuck out the door, it was really windy outside, and the door blew shut, waking Ronnie's mother up. So she got up out of bed and went downstairs, went to that side door and opened it up, and saw Ronnie turning the corner of the side of the house. So she put on her house coat, she ran outside to chase Ronnie, and she caught up with him. As she explains, she saw three large black shadows standing over by the tree line. When Ronnie shined his light on the shadows, they stayed stationary. They did not move, but she did see the three shadows herself. She got scared, calling Ronnie back. Ronnie said to her, "No, I'm going to go get them and find out who they are and what they want." Ronnie approached the three shadows, The three shadows grabbed Ronnie and drug him through the trees. His mom got scared, went inside, grabbed the same shotgun that Ronnie had grabbed months before, grabbed the flashlight, ran outside, ran into the woods where those same shadows just dragged her son through, and she heard her son yelling and screaming. And by the time she caught up to the first shoe that fell off Ronnie's foot, she picked it up and she started yelling, "Ronnie, where are you? Ronnie, where are you?" All of a sudden, before her eyes, she claims that she saw a huge bright light just light up all around. The trees just, it looked like a sunbeam was coming up off the ground, in through the trees, and up into the sky. Then she saw it as she looked up. She pointed the gun up there and fired, but it was too late. She said that this thing up in the sky, it looked like a huge UFO, except it wasn't round. It looked like something from a spacecraft from out of a movie or a sci-fi movie, she said. And it just hovered up above the trees and it started inching toward her with the light coming down and starting to scan the ground. And she said she got scared, turned around, ran back up into the house, picked up the phone to try to dial 911, or not the police, and the phone line went dead. She said all of a sudden, all of the electricity in her house just shut off. She had some candles. She lit the candles. Her house started shaking really bad. And in a moment, everything was silent. The electricity came back on. The phone turned back on. She dialed the police. When the police got there and started searching for Ronnie, he was nowhere to be found. They couldn't find him anywhere, telling her because of his schizophrenic that he might have just ran off, give him a few days, and he should come back fine. But she was trying to tell the police, no, you don't understand. This is what I saw. One of the police officers asked her, are you sure you're not schizoid? And she said, no, I don't think this is funny. Something took my son. I seen it for myself. But if you guys don't believe me, then you could just leave my property. So the police left the property. 6 weeks later, Ronnie came up through the door, wasn't wearing any clothes at all, and was 10 pounds heavier than when he left. He could not remember what happened. He couldn't remember that night that he disappeared. All he knows is that he was hungry and thirsty, and he smelled like dog. He smelled really bad, she said, and he was really dirty. It looked like he had just ran out there and was living off of the land and eating everything in his sight because he gained like 10 extra pounds. And Ronnie really didn't eat like that. So when she asked Ronnie, what was that I seen? He had no knowledge of anything she was saying. And it was almost like his schizophrenia that he had just like disappeared, because she said years later, he never had to take his medication. The schizophrenic that he had was gone. The doctors diagnosed him in perfect health, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with him after that one bizarre night. But she said up until that night and that happened, she has no explanation for what she saw that night out in her yard in the tree line that took her son. It really scared her. What do you guys think? You think it was a UFO? You think he just ran away and it was her imagination because of the black shadows that he is schizophrenia claimed to see? I mean, I don't know. This is the story that she gave me. Thanks for listening.